What's going on? Will Freeman, RevolutionaryLifestyleDesign.com, talking to you today about how to become an expat entrepreneur. What that means is it's not a digital nomad. Okay, you guys know what I think about digital nomads. I think it's basically a homeless vagrant in desperate need of a shower. I'm saying this as someone who lives in the capital city of digital nomads, Chiang Mai. You don't want to aspire to be that, okay? Expat entrepreneur isn't something to aspire to. It's just a term I use to describe certain actions that, in my experience, have the potential to make you happier. And happiness is what you should aspire to. Okay, that's what all this stuff is for. All these actions are for. It's not another identity to take on. It is a definition of strategies to make yourself happier. Okay, the benefits to becoming an expat entrepreneur are many. Okay, and I'm speaking from personal experience, speaking to you in Thailand right now. I own two businesses as well as a full schedule of coaching clients. And my life has benefited massively and drastically as opposed to being in Canada in the middle of winter in a job I hate. Okay, so there's 15 benefits that I've experienced from being an expat entrepreneur. Number one, you can lower to eliminate your taxes depending on your structure. Number two, you can geo arbitrage your income from a strong amount of income and currency into a much cheaper country and currency. Number three, geo arbitrage your sexual market value, which, let's be real, guys, is important. Number four, better weather. Number five, better lifestyle. Not every country, but a lot of countries like Southeast Asia are just a lot more fun than miserable, cold, unfriendly Canada. Better investment opportunities. Land is going to appreciate a lot faster in Cambodia than Canada. Better business opportunities. Customer service in Southeast Asia, a lot of these developing countries is not great. If you're able to jump through all the hoops to actually get set up, you can crush the competition. My friend has two service businesses now in Pattaya, Thailand, and is doing well. His customer service is incredible, and everyone else is terrible. And I mean that it's terrible. There are tremendous opportunities in service businesses in developing countries if you have the patience to jump through all the hoops and the patience to manage people who maybe haven't been raised to, I shouldn't say everyone, do things at perhaps a standard that you're used to or above and beyond. Number eight, better bank accounts. Okay. Top safest bank accounts in the world. You can see the link in the information below. America doesn't start till like 50. Okay. And the top 100 safest banks, none of them are the big American banks. They're like agri banks. Safest banks in the world are Germany, Switzerland, Hong Kong, Singapore, Australia, a couple Canada. And you got to leave to go get those. Okay. You're not going to be able to open those remotely. If you can open a bank remotely, it's not a safe bank. Better interest rates. Okay. 4% and up. Very much a possibility in Malaysia, in Georgia. That's not just in the local currency. That's in US dollars. You can get that because they actually want your money as opposed to the banks back home that don't really care. Multiple passports, okay, because the world's unstable. You don't know what's going to happen next. I'll probably never get another passport, but depending on where you come from, it could be a good idea. Especially this applies if you're a U.S. citizen because you're taxed regardless where you live. If you're Canadian like me, or Australian, or New Zealand, or any of these countries, you don't have to renounce citizenship to no longer pay taxes. You just have to be able to prove that you're a non-resident of your home country. But if you're American, you do. And if you're making $100,000, $250,000, $500,000 a year, okay, that citizenship is costing you millions of dollars a decade, not to mention the fact that you could be reinvesting that money and compounding that interest. Number 11, travel. Personally, I hate traveling. I'm traveling to Pattaya in the Philippines. I'm not looking forward to it at all. but I love living in new places, and having a location independent business allows that. Plan is Philippines is the new destination spot. Let you boys know how it is. Um, but I do know that the visa situation there is a lot easier than where I'm at now. Number 12, better treatment. Okay, my friend Andrew Henderson says, go where you're treated best, and he is correct. You want to go to a country, where you're treated well. If you're not being treated well where you're at, um, based on economics or race or, nationality or all kinds of divisions that are going on, or just customer service in your country or whatever that may be, visa situation, ability to make money, taxes. Um, if you travel, you find somewhere you like where you're treated best. To me, that's where home is, where the heart is. Where you're treated best. It's not the country that you were just randomly born into. Okay. Number 13, safety, avoiding political/economic potential or current unrest. Okay, don't think it can't or won't happen in your country. Venezuela is going through it. Cyprus and Turkey, even though it wasn't, violence based, it's economics based. If you had bank accounts in Cyprus, if you were living in Cyprus, you're watching your life savings being confiscated by the government. Okay, and if you're in a high tax Western country, um, I mean, it's like 90%, 100% of GDP is going to pay down the debt. In Japan, it's 200%. Okay, don't think that can't happen. Um, I mean, this is just the reality. Now, on the violence side, when I was in high school, made a trip to Mexico. Okay, wouldn't do that again. Some guys are over there, but I wouldn't be. I watch a lot of that cartel stuff, and you know, those guys are just too hardcore, man. But that only happened in the last 10 years when they started escalating that drug war. Okay, and even like more serious, if you were in Germany in the 1940s, you should have been out of there by the time that war hit. If Russia in the 1920s, you should have been out of there. North Korea in the 1950s, right? The people that were casualties of that war, not to put blame on people, just should not have been in that country. Okay, if you're in a country right now where you're kind of deciding, man, which way is it going to go? Is stuff going to pop off? Um, maybe you're in the Middle East, or maybe you're in Mexico, maybe you're in Venezuela. Get the F out of there, okay? Don't bet your life, don't roll the dice on maybe it won't, okay? Number 14, adventure. Picking up and moving your life without a safety net or a job waiting takes balls and is a definite adventure to an antidote to boredom. The biggest problem with being middle class in a Western country is it is so fucking boring. Okay, most people have never had a life or death experience. They're sitting in an office all day, not feeling alive. From birth to death in that safety net. Okay, and there's a lot of great things about safety and peacefulness and consistency, reliability, all that stuff. But boredom is not one of them. Okay, and sometimes you have to remind yourself that you're fucking alive. Now, I'm not a big fan of these gap years or any of this other bullshit, because I think you should be getting into your own business as soon as possible if you don't have one, and sacrificing to do that. And then you don't need a fucking gap year. You can just move somewhere else and not have to go back and not have to cram everything into some crazy traveling schedule. Okay. Adventure. It really is an adventure, moving out and exploring the world. Number 15 is freedoms, okay? On your adventure to Thailand, you can drop your stuff out at the hotel, walk a few doors down, rent a motorcycle with no license, no helmet, no anything, okay? And drive it around the city, park it on the sidewalk, and no one gives a fuck. And you'll start to see how strong the control grids were in your home country. Now, again, there's benefits to that, okay? Driving here in Thailand is the fourth dangerous in the world. I'm actually going to retire my motorcycle once I go to the Philippines. It is quite risky. That being said, freedom's always more dangerous, but it is should something that should be, I think, experienced. Um, and it's it's hard to describe if you haven't been outside of your country or to, countries that are vastly different. Um, the experience with that freedom, it's so tangible, it's so real, it's so, you feel like you can kind of do anything. Okay. And that's a fun thing. So the idea behind all this stuff is called flag theory. It was originally developed by Harry Brown in the 50s. If you don't know who he is, search for him on my website. I did a big article on his book, which was a massive influence on me. It was popularized by Tim Ferriss, another big influence on me. As you can see, a revolutionary lifestyle design. He invented that term. Um, when I think I was 25 when the book came out, and the idea was you could just build an online business and go live in Southeast Asia. And that was around when like the movie The Beach was out, and it stuck with me, and I eventually did it, 8 years later or whatever it was. Um, just a revolutionary idea that you could do that. And perfected by my man Andrew Henderson of nomadcapitalist.com. That is the guy, that's my go-to guy on all this stuff. And Andrew describes the 5 flags of freedom as: number one, passport or citizenship in a country that does not tax non-resident income or control your actions. Number two, legal residence in a tax haven. Number three, business base and salary earning in a tax haven. Number four, offshore bank account in a country with stable banking. Number five, playgrounds where you spend your money, preferably with no sales tax or VAT. Okay. And all those things are all to the good, but it's not for everyone. Okay. Sad to say, the first people I would rule out, okay, you got to be over 25. I've seen too many guys come out here and crash. Had one guy suicide, unfortunately. Young guy, actually had his own self-improvement blog. Very easy to get lost out here, very easy to blow through your money a lot faster, very easy to get in trouble get the wrong girl in your life. You know, some guys are going to get in trouble with drugs and or crash your motorcycle. Um, it's sunny every day. The beer's cheap. Real hard for a young guy to be disciplined and stay inside every single day and work hard. At least that's what I see from the young guys coming out. That's why I say don't come out unless you're 25. Number two, upper middle income. This means for at least the last 6 months, you've had consistent income to put you in the upper middle class of your new country. For Asia, that's at least 2K a month. And I'd want to see you have, number three, a solid financial safety net. I'd want you to have at least 20 grand before you come out, which in Thailand, will get you about a year. Ideally, though, I'd want you to have 100 grand. Okay. What I tell everyone, for you to be able to get comfortable, I think it's 100 grand a year and 100 grand in the bank before you can really start to feel comfortable. And you should be grinding really hard till you get to that point. Number four, solid psychological foundation, no recent history of major depression or anxiety. It's not going to be the antidote, if anything. Once the high wears off of being out here and you're away from your family and friends, and you could actually accelerate, you falling into a depressed state. Now, depression is under your control. I don't believe in depression. Okay, I believe that you have control of your moods. But if you've had a history of going into that pattern, um, and you're young, it's not the place for you to be. Number five, you have to have a burning desire for business success. Most guys say it. Most guys talk the talk. That when I tell them, do 250 cold calls a day, um, sell for 12 hours a day, they're not willing to go that far. Okay, or whatever their business is, first year in business, do 15 hours work a day, real work, not research, to where you can really get that money up. Most guys don't have that consistency, that discipline, at least 99%. Okay, so, but if you match all those requirements, world is yours. So my experience, I've got better quality of life in Chiang Mai than I did in Canada since I've been here. I left when I was 32. I'm 36, turning 37 in a few months. Before that, I'd been to US, Mexico, nowhere else. Moved straight to Chiang Mai, didn't look back. Been to Laos, been to Malaysia, been to Burma, Hong Kong, going to the Philippines. Um, had a blast. You know, outside of the fact that I'm a workaholic and force myself to work all the time, the actual experience of being out here, it's been a blast. It's also been that work effort has paid off for me significantly. Best decision that I made was coming out here, because my original plan was just keep stacking cash in Canada, then move to Arizona or something when I was 37, which would be this year. But the reality is, it's not easy, even as a Canadian, to get into America. Secondly, I would have been in Canada for longer than I needed to be, and I wouldn't have been able to work on my business full time. And now I've been able to start another business that's working. So none of those would have been possible while I was still working my sales job in Canada and doing my business on the side. Um, I mean, it's been one of the best decisions I made in my life. But you don't have to move to Asia, okay? If you're American, if I was American, I don't know if I would have left. I probably would, like, if you're in New York, where you're spending 5 grand a month, you can go to like a mid-sized town in Florida and probably pay the same that I do in Chiang Mai. Because I pay for, most of the buildings aren't at a really high standard of living. So you pay extra for that. And I pay extra for the food delivery and the high quality Western food. Smaller mid-sized town in Florida, it's decent. You know, you can get a decent little condo. No state tax there. You know, you could go from spending 5 grand a month to 2 grand a month, no problem. And build your business up from there. Um, so my experience has been a tremendous positive. Okay. That being said, there's still a lot of frustrations, and there's a lot of things that I should have done before I left that I'm still doing now. I've got a good handle on it, but there's taxes in your home country, taxes in your new country, incorporation, visas to permanent residencies to second citizenships, getting tax IDs, getting bank accounts, getting a business incorporated and a business bank account, which is more of a fucking headache than you would believe. And deciding to use your personal tax ID versus your business tax ID. A lot of countries, like if you want to get bank accounts in Australia or something, because they're safe banks, they're going to want to know where you pay taxes. They're going to want to see your tax ID. They're going to want to know your story, and you're going to have to, do some explaining why you live in Malaysia, but you want accounts in Australia, and you've got a business in, Hong Kong and Georgia. Okay. This stuff is as complicated as anything I've ever researched. And whenever you think you know something, you've got it, you'll find another little thing that you need to know, and it just goes on for what seems like forever. Okay. And most quote unquote digital nomads don't talk about taxes because, one, they don't make any money except for the courses they sell to other wannabe nomads. And as you know, the way to get rich is not mining for gold, it's selling panhandles in the gold rush. Okay. And number two, they don't pay taxes. All right. And I live in the quote unquote digital nomad capital of the world. You don't want anything to do with that. I'll tell you that right now. Okay. You're not coming over here as you're aspiring to be that. You're coming over because you're an entrepreneur and you want to go where you're treated best, able to make the most money, highest quality of living, all that good stuff. Okay. So my advice is to go pro from the get-go. The biggest mistake I made in the last 5 years wasn't going pro from day one. I promise you the structure, if you want to do everything right and get all your ducks in a row, is more complicated than you think. I've been researching for at least 5 years now, and I still keep learning new things. And it's a nightmare of a labyrinth. Okay. The last couple months, on the tail end of doing this stuff for 5 years, some days I was just doing 12 hours a day, making sure that I've got the best options for myself and all the things that I need to know. Um, when you go pro from the get-go, you learn to get accounts with Citibank and HSBC before you leave your home country, right? So you're established with large international banks, okay? Because one of the things a lot of guys don't realize is you can't just go over somewhere and open a bank account. That's a special thing. You can do that in Thailand on a language visa. Most countries, it's difficult. All right. You think, well, wait, I want to give these people money. What's the problem? Well, problem is FATCA. The problem is CRS. The problem is the know your customer rules. Problem is all the Western countries want to get reported back to, um, so that they can make sure they're getting all the taxes that they need. And it's gotten to the point where, you know, Hong Kong and Singapore, you can't even get into without 200 grand, okay, because you're too much of a hassle to deal with, especially if you're American. I mean, even if with the 200 grand deposit, they still might not if you can't cross all the I's and cross all the T's, dot your I's, okay? When you get a console, you learn that onshore is a new offshore. You learn that you probably want to pay a little tax to get a tax ID number so that you can get bank accounts in safe jurisdictions like Australia. And that you should tunnel into up and coming banking havens like Georgia before you can't get in there 5 years from now, okay, where you can easily open a bank account, all right? Just like if you'd come to Singapore 15 years ago, you could have easily opened a bank account at HSBC or in Hong Kong. Now, very hard, all right? And you learn which residency programs are being phased out, and you learn that Cambodia doesn't have a double tax treaty with Canada, and a million other things that I guarantee that you don't know, all right? So here's the deal. If you make over 250 grand a year, get a consult with Andrew Henderson from Nomad Capitalist. He's been, speaking with Andrew's been hugely beneficial to me. Okay. But he is expensive. Okay. So it's for guys making over 250 grand a year. If you're Canadian like me, in addition to booking a plan with Andrew, book an email consult with Michael Atlas. He's fantastic. I asked him 167 questions and he answered all of them politely. If you're not Canadian, consult with the best expats lawyer in your country, okay? In addition to booking a call with Andrew, all right? You want to get a second opinion. You want to make sure that you've got everything, in your country. You haven't missed anything. And you want both of those things. Maybe you do Andrew's thing first and then run it by your guy or vice versa. But I would do both. If you're not making six figures yet and you can't afford a consultation, just buy Andrew's book, Nomad Capitalist, on Amazon. Links in the description. And just read every article that he's written. He's got about 350 or 400 articles. And then read every written article that I've written on making money. I've got about 100 articles. Okay? And then buy consultation once you get your income up. But pay the money, all right? It could come down to saving you millions of dollars over a decade. Not to mention, being able to compound interest or reinvest that money into your business. All right. Resources in the article. I got a ton of them here. I'll put some in the description. Resources also in the cards in the YouTube video. And that's it. Summary is it's not for everyone. Okay. But if you're going to do it, go pro from the get-go. And if you've got all those factors checked, massive, massive benefits in terms of happiness, okay? It's not about the identity of an expat entrepreneur. It is about the idea of going where you're treated best and maximizing your happiness. And that involves, legally minimizing your tax burden, GOR arbitraging your income, GOR arbitraging your sexual market value, going from a cold country to a warm, sunny country, going from an unfriendly country to a friendly, happy country, and on and on and on and on. When you get your money right, okay, and you're able to set up a location independent business, gives you a tremendous amount of options to increase the quality of your life. I'm speaking as someone who's done it, okay? By no means the most successful person in the world, but I've increased my happiness significantly. And check out my man Andrew's site, nomadcapitalist.com. Tons of information on there, his YouTube channel too. And check out my money section, revolutionarylifestyledesign.com/money. got a link. Go get a consult with Andrew. You can also do coaching with me. revolutionarylifestyledesign.com/coaching. All the links in the description, in the cards, as well as in this specific article. Let me know if you have any questions. And as always, thank you so much for watching, listening, or however you're getting this content.